there, welcome to another episode of Flash Zellow, Fiction Done Fast, the show where I take a bunch of writing prompts from my friends and turn them into one-page short stories for your entertainment. How's everybody doing today? Sorry, I need to clean my glasses, I cannot see. I mean, it doesn't help that they're super scratched anyway. Ah, come on, chair, work with me. All right. Everyone doing okay? Everybody hanging in there? Everybody having a day, as it were? Hope the answer to all of those questions is yes. Wait, what? Listening from the seat of a skid steer. Very excited for the stories. What is a skid steer? Huh. Ask and Google shall provide. Small construction tractor. Yeah, like they used to fight the dinosaur in Carnosaur. I don't even know who that reference was for. Alright, well, we're here. We don't have a lot of prompts left. We are definitely down to the wire. We have enough prompts for today and tomorrow. And then I've got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to collect theoretically 8 more. So if I don't get any more by the end of today or tomorrow, I will literally be out, which fills me with no small amount of anxiety. So we are down to the last few prompts. We have from Renegade Radio a 3-word prompt: eggplant, furious, and catastrophe. We have Shakespeare's tone prompt that write a piece that feels like this, based on the song Ushag Veg Ruy, Little Red Bird. Caiaphas's a president finds out he's fired via Twitter, await. And a detective is finally trusted with their first case, and it's the murder he committed last night. So I want to try the tone prompt. A dog that becomes a wolf wear. What is a wolf wear? Wouldn't that just be called a were-dog? I did a little bit of work clearing up some of these. Okay. I need the lyrics. I don't need them, but because I'm trying not to go 100% like based on the lyrics of the song. So, but the song Ushag Veg Ruy is Little Red Bird. The lyrics of the song are Little Red Bird of the Black Peat Ground, Black Peat Ground, Black Peat Ground, Little Red Bird of the Black Peat Ground. Where did you sleep last night? Did you not sleep last night on the top of the bush, on the top of the bush, on the top of the bush, with the rain falling on every side? And oh, wretched was my sleep. Or did I not sleep last night on the top of the bush? On the top of the bush, with the rain falling on every side. And oh, wretched was my sleep. Did I not sleep last night on the top of the briar, while the wind was blowing all around? And oh, wretched was my sleep. Did I not sleep last night on the top of the wave, where many a man's son slept before me? And oh, wretched was my sleep. I slept last night between two leaves, as the baby sleeps on the breast of his mother, breast of the mother. And oh, my sleep was good. So, but we are doing a tone prompt. So boy cry for you.
He cried.
He cry for you. There's a kitty out there and he cry for you.
I go to.
You go to him.
I go to.
I want to know if anyone listening, how many times this has happened now, where I say, your boy called to you, and Cassie go, I go to him. So, hey, howdy ho, howdy hey. I kind of want to try something. I want to see if there's maybe... I don't want to play the whole thing, and I also don't want to get hit by a copyright strike, but I want to try something. I am assuming that this video from October 28th, 2010, with 4,000 views, played live, won't smack me with a copyright strike. I want to listen to just a little bit so you can kind of, I mean, assuming, you know, how this sounds, we'll see which, if you think I kind of captured the tone, because that was the whole point.
Ushag Veg Ruy, namoni du, namoni du, namoni du. Ushag Veg Ruy, namoni du, kadil rasemi. Kadil mishraya evaridras, evaridras, evaridras. Kadil mishraya evaridras.
Okay. So that was about a minute of the song. It's not quite the, you know, I mean, obviously it's a different instrument than the version that Shakespeare's included a link to. But the prompt was, do you take tone prompts, like rather than write a story where X does Y, more of write a piece that feels like this? Ushag Veg Ruy, Little Red Bird, that's the one I'm currently learning on the mandolin. That's the one I'm learning on the mandolin currently, and I thought it had a kind of misty, Halloween-y vibe to it. Also, it's just one of my favorite songs in general. So this prompt has been sitting around since Halloween. Okay, just in time for Christmas. The old woman was awake when the dawn came. Such were her mornings anymore. Years of hard work had left her unable to sleep. Sad irony of growing older. As the first rays of yellow sun splashed across the windows of her kitchen, the coffee was almost fully brewed. She poured herself a cup and clutched it close in her wrinkled hands until the heat became too much for her. With bathrobe wrapped around her, she sat on the porch with her coffee and waited. Every morn, for many months, she had been visited by one little red bird. He'd flutter down from the trees and sit on the porch with her. He hopped about the deck and on the railing, and once he'd contented himself to perch on her foot. His was the only company she had anymore, but truth be told, he was better company than she'd kept in all the years prior. He alone was why she'd started filling a bird feeder. But as the sun rose, he never came, and dread began to encircle her heart. Where was her little red bird? Leaving the mug of coffee behind, half full on the porch, the old woman, in nothing but slippers and bathrobe, ventured down the path from her house, eyes on the trees. Where was her little red bird? Some reasonable voice in the back of her mind mocked her and her concern, wandering into the woods in search of a wild animal. And as she had done all her life, she ignored it. If she didn't do this, she would sit and worry for the same amount of time, trapped alone in her house with no one and nothing. No. Silly as it was, the old woman mused, the only regret she would have would be if she didn't look for her little red bird. When she had reached the path's end, ready to turn around, she heard it chirping and saw, not too far above her, a small nest, and sitting comfortably atop it, her little red bird. I want to add something. I want to add some kind of, like, our little red and many little red chicks. Is that what baby birds are called?
Yes.
I was like, actually, baby birds have special names. A bird is a bird, except when it's a nestling, a hatchling, or a fledgling. Chick can describe any baby bird, though. So how about this? When she reached the path's end, she heard a chirping and saw, not too far above her, a small nest, and sitting comfortably atop it, her little red bird and many little red chicks. So, I will have to let Shakespearex know that I tackled his deprompt. Oh, I never updated the blog. Oops. All right, well, sat on that one for quite a while, didn't we? I think this is your fault. Oh God, there's only 3 left. Sorry, it's just it's genuine anxiety. As a point of interest, chicklings usually don't have their adult plumage and would have the same coloring as their parents. Wouldn't have the same coloring as their parents? I'm assuming. I should have known that because when I googled it, it brought up a picture of baby birds, and it definitely didn't click. Soon to be red baby chicks. Oh well. Her little red bird and many little chicks. Maybe and many even littler chicks. Her little red bird and many even littler chicks. I think that sounds fairly nice. See, Scarlet Fury, what you the red eggs, pink eggs thing. That actually crossed my mind. I was gonna write that, and then I was like, but if she's down and she's looking at the nest from, she's not gonna see unless she's looking down on the nest. I don't know how she'd be doing it unless it was. And I was like, I've got 2 lines. I've got 2 lines to kind of wrap this up. So, yeah. So, thank you, Silent Willow, for speaking out. Speaking up. Oh well. Okay. And I kind of want to try this one. So Scarlet Fear, we're gonna try your detective one. seeing as this is a detective is finally trusted with their first case, I'm just going to do a quick Google search on how to become a homicide detective. One of the many, just one of the another instance of a writer getting just the weirdest search history. Okay. Solve worst crimes with object. Okay. So, typical steps. Step 1: attend police academy. Cool. I mean, high school diploma, while criminal justice degrees are technically not required, may give officers an advantage, including coursework, practical training, intensive, and not nearly enough in our country. Depending on the type of academy, training can last from 12 weeks to 12 months. Wow. God. Okay. Okay, on-the-job experience. Earn a bachelor's degree. Okay, it's not required, but it helps. Okay. Hey there, guys. Welcome back. We're kind of bringing things back up. How we do. That's the thing we're doing. So, Scarlet Fury, hoping you're still floating around there. It looks like we're down to one viewer, but so it goes. I feel a little bound. I always promised I wouldn't make disclaimers, so I'll try and frame this a different way. I feel I didn't know what the framing of this. I didn't actually have the 5-act structure, the introduction, but complication, therefore crisis, but reversal, therefore catastrophe. I didn't actually have that down until kind of the end. And looking at it now, I'm like, I know how I would have done this with the knowledge I have now. So like, this is one of those stories that I would really like a kind of a second crack at, to do a second draft. But it's got a rough draft, and I like the idea of it. So, Detective Adam Blackthorne had a good ring, don't you think? It's what Adam had spent years telling the people around him whenever they asked him what he wanted to be when he grew up. It wasn't watching cops, and it wasn't watching police procedurals. Nah, it was reading his dad's old Mickey Spillane novels. Never got better than that. Until today. Today was his first case. He dropped into the passenger seat of his patrol car. His partner, Jane Morrison, was in the driver's seat. You ready for this, rookie? Your first homicide? He laughed, light and easy. You want me to say some cliche like, I was born ready? They drove to the crime scene, and he drummed his fingers on his knees, eyes on the neighborhood. He'd been here dozens of times. He'd been here just last night. Shit, he said as Jane pulled to a stop at the curb. Shit? Jane asked. He looked at her, too late now. I know the guy who lives here. Lived, more accurately. Adam had killed him last night. You know the victim? I know the perp, too, he thought, hoping beads of sweat weren't forming on his forehead. Old friend, grew up together. When she continued to stare at him, Adam repeated, shit. He watched the gears turn behind her eyes, bright blue and piercing. You alright to go inside, Blackthorne? With an easy grin, he said, yeah. Knowing the victim might help. Knowing the killer might help too, she said coolly. You're under arrest, Adam. Adam Blackthorne went for his gun. Jane Morrison was faster. The gunshot pierced the silence. Had a good ring to it, though, don't you think? So, well, hope that was alright. Definitely one of the an example, I think, of why I like to kind of I like to successfully break down the story structure before I get started. Is I feel like I could have, if I'd known that it was going to end up being kind of a setup, I could have. That was fun. Well, I'm glad you had fun with it. I wish I could have gotten to the fact that it was a setup faster. You know? Like, I would have probably... looking at the story structure, it was a detective is finally trusted with his first case, but it's the murder he committed last night. Therefore, crisis. I don't know exactly what the crisis should have been, but reversal. His partner suspects he did it. Therefore, they each go for their guns. So, yeah, I don't know what what crisis would have fit there really well, but. So yeah, a detective is finally trusted with his first case, but it's the murder he committed last night. Therefore, crisis, which usually involves like a character doing something. I haven't gotten into too much into the weeds on what this structure actually is. So like what you're, because it's vague enough, but you can get noodly if you want to. So in this case, it would be a detective is finally trusted with his first case, but it's the murder he committed last night. Therefore, he blanks. He action. He runs. He hides. He lies. He, you know. So, it could be so here's maybe a potential rewrite. And I don't think I've ever done this on the stream, and I don't know if I'll write it today, but it would look like this. A detective is finally trusted with his first case, but it's the murder he committed last night. Therefore, he pretends he's never been here before, but his partner knows he was here before and suspects he did it. Therefore, they both go for their guns. So that would be, you know, you'd have, I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if you can see the screen, and I don't know if you can, then it would look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I think that the first two sections work pretty okay. I would still probably try and edit them a little bit for clarity, but let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. So, fuck it. How about this? Okay. So we've got a new Act 3, so that would be the, he pretends he's never been here before. So, close enough. Hey there. So, this was kind of a flash Zellow first. I got to the end of the story and just wasn't terribly satisfied with what I wrote. So, hoping Scarlet Fury is still around, we're going to do a reread of kind of a new, an updated revision. I think one that flows a little bit better. It's up to you guys to judge. You can go back and look at the original version. But I am going to read it from the start, and then we'll wrap up the stream there. Okay. Detective Adam Blackthorne. Had a good ring, don't you think? That's what Adam had spent years telling the people around him whenever they asked what he wanted to be when he grew up. It wasn't watching cops, and it wasn't watching police procedurals, no. It was reading his dad's old Mickey Spillane novels. Never got better than that. Until today. Today was his first case. He dropped into the passenger seat of the patrol car. His partner, Jane Morrison, was in the driver's seat. You ready for this, rookie? Your first homicide? He laughed, light and easy. You want me to say some cliche like, I was born ready? They drove to the crime scene and he drummed his fingers on his knee, eyes on the neighborhood. He'd been here dozens of times. He'd been here just last night. Shit, he said, as Jane pulled to a stop on the curb in front of a small rundown house. Punctuation. A house Adam knew too well, just like he knew the two-bit backstabbing piece of shit who lived there. Emphasis on lived, considering Adam had killed him last night. Shit? She asked, climbing out of the car. Nothing, Adam said, following her onto the curb. It's just a real shithole of a house. Never been to this shithole side of town? Jane asked, piercing blue eyes locked on him. He shook his head, hoping beads of sweat weren't forming on his forehead. Funny, she said the word without a hint of humor. I have eyewitnesses that tell me you've been coming to this neighborhood for years. That you and the Vic were old buddies. Grew up together. That you were here last night when someone heard a shot fired. How about that? Adam Blackthorne went for his gun. One last desperate act. Jay Morrison was faster. One single gunshot rang out, echoing around the neighborhood. But boy, it had a nice ring to it. Don't you think? So, Scarlet Fury, what'd you think of your prompt? So nice, I had to write it twice. Oh. I'm ready. It's also a little interesting just because you kind of get to see a little bit more of my process, a little bit more of the editing process, and also just, you actually get to see a little bit more of how my story structure process works. Because the first one, I used the story structure, I had broken down the first two paragraphs, and then from there I was kind of freewheeling it, and I got to something that, like, I was like, okay, there's something here, but then going back through and actually doing the 5-act breakdown, I think made it pull together a little bit more, give it a little bit more of a stronger skeleton, where it kind of felt like the twists actually had a little bit more time to breathe, and there was a little bit more foundation to draw from, and it felt like we were. I'd like to think that it felt like it was building to. It was building to the ending instead of kind of stumbling to the ending. So I hope you liked both. I hope you prefer the rewrite. I think it's much better, but that's me. So, on that note, I, having drank this entire lemonade, desperately need to use the restroom, so I am going to wrap things up here. But I really appreciate you guys popping by. I don't know if Silent Willow is still floating around, but I appreciate your comment. I don't believe I've seen you in the chat before, so I regret not saying sooner that it was nice to have you pop in. If you're still around, I don't know if you are. If not, oh well. Maybe you'll come back. I don't know. But I appreciate Scarlet Fury and everyone else for popping in today. And yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. That is all I have to say. That's all I have to write. No heroes in 2020. I will see you guys tomorrow. So, bye guys.